What is the difference between cocoa and cacao? By now you may have heard at least one reference to cacao. Growing up I knew two things about chocolate. That cocoa came from the chocolate beans and that it was bitter without sugar. I did not know that the plant used to make chocolate was called a cacao plant. I also did not know the amount of processing that went into making cocoa powder. I thought the seeds were just ground. I am going to tell you the real difference between the two. First, let's look at the dictionary definitions of each. Cacao left bracket cacao co right bracket. Noun plural cacaos. A small tropical American evergreen tree, Theobroma cacao, cultivated for its seeds, the source of cocoa, chocolate, etc. Cocoacoh co right bracket. Noun. A powder made from roasted, husked, and ground seeds of the cacao, Theobroma cacao, from which much of the fat has been removed. These definitions don't tell us much about the process that goes on. When you look at the labels on cocoa tins, most of them just list cocoa powder with a trademark next to it. This is because the cacao was turned into cocoa with a process that usually involves alkali. In fact, if you read an ingredient list on a can of cocoa that hasn't trademarked their recipe for cocoa, it has to say cocoa, processed with alkali. But what is alkali? Let's look back at the dictionary. Alkali. Left bracket alkali right bracket. Noun plural alkalis, alkalis. 1. Chemistry. Any of various bases, the hydroxides of the alkali metals and of ammonium, that neutralize acids to form salts and turn red litmus paper blue. Any of various other more or less active bases, as calcium hydroxide. Not in technical use, an alkali metal. Obsolete. Any of various other compounds, as the carbonates of sodium and potassium. 2. Agriculture. A soluble mineral salt, or a mixture of soluble salts, present in some soils, especially in arid regions, and detrimental to the growing of most crops. Just reading the last sentence, that alkali is detrimental to growing most crops, makes me wonder how processing cocoa with it can leave any nutritional value to the food. It's been a craze lately that chocolate is a superfood. This is a fallacy. Cacao is indeed a superfood, but once it is processed into chocolate, the benefits are lacking. I have looked up exactly what the process is to turn cacao into chocolate on the International Cocoa Organization's website ico.org/about-cocoa/processing-cocoa.html. Below is the process from their site. They list the first step as using cocoa beans, however this is not technically true. They are cacao seeds. Step 1. The cocoa beans are cleaned to remove all extraneous material. Step 2. To bring out the chocolate flavor and color, the beans are roasted. The temperature, time and degree of moisture involved in roasting depend on the type of beans used and the sort of chocolate or product required from the process. Step 3. A winnowing machine is used to remove the shells from the beans to leave just the cocoa nibs. Step 4. The cocoa nibs undergo alkalization, usually with potassium carbonate, to develop the flavor and color. Step 5. The nibs are then milled to create cocoa liquor, cocoa particles, suspended in cocoa butter. The temperature and degree of milling varies according to the type of nib used and the product required. Step 6. Manufacturers generally use more than one type of bean in their products, and therefore the different beans have to be blended together to the required formula. Step 7. The cocoa liquor is pressed to extract the cocoa butter, leaving a solid mass, called cocoa press cake. The amount of butter extracted from the liquor is controlled by the manufacturer to produce press cake with different proportions of fat. Step 8. The processing now takes two different directions. The cocoa butter is used in the manufacture of chocolate. The cocoa press cake is broken into small pieces to form kibbled press cake, which is then pulverized to form cocoa powder. Step 9. Cocoa liquor is used to produce chocolate through the addition of cocoa butter. Other ingredients such as sugar, milk, emulsifying agents, and cocoa butter equivalents are also added and mixed. The proportions of the different ingredients depend on the type of chocolate being made. Step 10. The mixture then undergoes a refining process by traveling through a series of rollers until a smooth paste is formed. Refining improves the texture of the chocolate. Step 11. The next process, conching, further develops flavor and texture. Conching is a kneading or smoothing process. The speed, duration, and temperature of the kneading affect the flavor. An alternative to conching is an emulsifying process, using a machine that works like an egg beater. Step 12. The mixture is then tempered, or passed through a heating, cooling, and reheating process. This prevents discoloration and fat bloom in the product by preventing certain crystalline formations of cocoa butter developing. Step 13. The mixture is then put into molds, or used for enrobing fillings, and cooled in a cooling chamber. Step 14. The chocolate is then packaged for distribution to retail outlets. Now that we can clearly see that cocoa is not at all the superfood we have heard claims about, how can we reap any benefits from this super plan? Your answer is to go straight to the source, organic cacao powder or nibs. How is cacao powder made? It is just ground up cacao seeds. It is unprocessed, retaining important nutritive elements such as magnesium, calcium, iron, fiber, and protein. It also contains a heavy load of antioxidants. There are many brands that make organic cacao powder, but I love Viva Lab's organic cacao powder. It tastes amazing and I feel good about using it. How about everyone else? Comment below and tell me what you think. Important. To top all of this off, there is a lot of hype surrounding the child labor in the cocoa. To read more about that, please visit here. http://www.foodspower.org/slavery chocolate/